We have a visitor again today. Yes, we do. Let's see if he sits down and relaxes. Shall we? I think he's gonna. He's being very sleepy today. Okay, hi. We're yapping. We're doing the thing. And your girl is feeling the things. I listened to a podcast yesterday from my beautiful friend Chelsea, who was one of the people who inspired me to do this. And she did a podcast on the witch wound. So further to what I said yesterday, a lot of the reason why you may be throwing up those excuses may be because of the witch wound. So I apologize, but also deal with it. You know what I mean? You got to do the thing so that you don't experience these things anymore. So I've been thinking a lot about the witch wound today. And my other thing that I actually kind of need your help on, would love feedback, is I've essentially just been thinking about change and evolution and what is the difference between the two. Because I was listening to another podcast, can you tell that I'm a podcast queen, a Flex Mummy podcast, and she talked about this. She was like, what's the difference between the two? Change is when something inherently shifts form completely, and then evolution is when the essence, I can't remember what she said essentially, but there's I guess what I took away from it was that for me, change is something when you have shape shifted, right? There is a turn, a switch, a shift. Whereas an evolution is more like a growth or a level up. The essence of the thing has changed, right? When you have changed, whereas when you have evolved, it's like same, but different. I think that's exactly what she actually said. So, citing her for those words. So, a lot of things have been changing for me. I've been in an era of change for a long time, self-inflicted, because I had change that felt like it wasn't self-inflicted and was out of my control when I had my mental breakdown. And so I've had to do a lot of conscious work around changing and evolving, but the change had to come first. I'm not gonna lie. So let me get to the fucking point. I want to change my podcast name. But here's the thing. I changed it from what it was originally 18 months ago. Is that too much? Is that too chaotic? But I thought of a name and it just totally suits what the podcast is and what I feel like it's been trying to be. And if I really am honest with myself looking back, I knew that the podcast was literally changing when it went from abracadabra to the esoteric entrepreneur. But there was a part of me that was like, abracadabra doesn't feel real anymore, doesn't quite fit. The esoteric entrepreneur feels true for what I'm doing right now, but it doesn't feel true long term, if I'm completely honest with myself. But I knew something had to shift. And it's almost like the esoteric entrepreneur was like the shift, the switch, the change. And this new name is like the evolution. I want to say abracadabra was the caterpillar, the esoteric entrepreneur was the cocoon era, and then now this is like the butterfly. This is kind of like the final boss, the final stage. But is that too much? I know I could just totally I could totally like stop the podcast and start a new one, but I don't want to do that. Because one, I love that I've been doing it for 5 years. I also kind of love the idea that somebody could see the whole evolution and could really like go back and get the lore. I don't love the idea of like completely starting fresh on a platform that I've already been on. Like even with this, like I've uploaded on YouTube before. Sure, I privated a lot of videos and I, shifted some things around. New thumbnail, new header. But like I have had this channel for ages. And so is it just kind of like that? But it's like something that I've been uploading on for so long. And as I'm like thinking through all these things, I was thinking about the witch wound and I was like, isn't it interesting that I got on here yesterday and I was like, sounds like excuses. Sounds like we need to just do what we need to do. We need to simplify. We need to all those things, right? Like we need to stop overthinking the things that don't need to be overthunk. We need to stop overcomplicating the things that don't need to be overcomplicated. And if I put this sort of thought process through that simplicity lens, I mean, the answer is quite clear. It's not like I don't know what it is that I want to do, right? And I think, again, this talks more to what I was saying yesterday. It's like we know what we want to do, and sometimes we make it overcomplicated so that we protect ourselves from putting ourselves out there. It's a protection mechanism. Why? Because women have been bridled and muzzled and put to death and hunted in the past for simply being knowledgeable, unconventional, just generally human. And as before any of the fucking, and not that you're even here, but before any like not all men idiots come out of the woodwork and they're like, but men feel that too. Let me just say to you, sure, but it wasn't just women who were hunted during these times. This is actually something I learned when I was listening to the podcast. I'm actually going to link it below because if you've ever wondered about the witch wound, wondered about the witch trials, Chelsea actually gave like a really good like synopsis, overarching, really like direct, amazing, easy to understand and digest explanation of it, and you can like continue to do further research. But I honestly thought it was really great and really informative, so I'll link it down in the description. But it wasn't just women, it was actually men too. It was mainly women, yes, because it was seen as the feminine sort of uprising and revolting against the patriarchy, and that was really scary. But there were men who were fucking about in these spaces of healership and science and all of these things. Basically anything opposite or that was contradicting religion was... Hang on, is Ziggy vomiting? No, okay. Yeah, it was like a no-go. They were like, absolutely not. So there's that. But also when it comes to like changing and evolving, to what really is that fear that I'm feeling, or that uncomfortability, or that second guessing, is that I would be disrupting the status quo. I could possibly be going against what is right and what is not only what is right, but what is like considered to be the way of which a successful person does things. Now, I'm not opposed to stepping outside the box and doing things differently. What I mean by that is it's like changing your podcast name 3 times kind of gives flaky. It kind of gives she doesn't know what she's doing. It gives this woman is not smart. This woman is not knowledgeable, which brings me back to the remembrance that I don't want to be an expert. And maybe an expert would have a clear runway and all these things. I'm just this chaotic, creative person who has ideas and is trying to figure out all of my things and figure out my brain and how it works and what success looks like and what fun looks like and joy looks like. I'm just out here doing that. And I don't think I actually, maybe I have claimed to be more than that in the past. Maybe in the past I have portrayed myself and tried to position myself as an expert. That's true. And it's only now that I'm realizing I don't want to be that. And so these old ways of thinking are kind of like coming in and being like, no, you can't do that. That's not going to look good. That's not going to be a good look. Interesting. I know who told me that. I can hear their voice in my mind. Good thing I'm going to therapy right now. Literally, after I stop recording, I'm going to go to therapy. So maybe I bring that into therapy. Anyway, let me know if you think it's cool. Like if you think that is chaotic, or whether you're like, fuck yeah, just do it. The name is so good. So good. And I'm not asking because I want the confirmation. I'm asking as a survey. I want to know, like, do you think that's chaotic? What does that say? What do you feel like that says about somebody? Just interested on the perception. Okay, rock on.